I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHack's Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the cherry on top. So the inspiration for this episode came from a consultation that I did with a man who, let's just say, was becoming increasingly frustrated with women. From his perspective, relationships with women were just so costly and difficult, and any benefits he received did not justify the expense. The whole "the juice isn't worth the squeeze" argument. And at one point he asked me, "Orion, what do you personally get out of relationships with women? Like, what do they really have to offer?" So I paused for a bit and I considered my own experience and I answered him honestly. And I said, I get a lot from my relationships with women. Like, it's nice to have someone to connect with at the end of the day. It's nice to have someone to spend an evening with, whether it's going out to dinner or cooking at home. It's nice to have an occasional travel companion, someone you can share the good things in life with, as it's the sharing that makes them even more enjoyable. It's nice to have someone to cuddle and squeeze and fall asleep with. And it's nice to have someone who can help me out from time to time, to pick up a bottle of wine or drop off my dry cleaning or what have you. Like, women make my life a little sweeter and a little better for being in it. And after I finished, the guy kind of looked at me like I had fallen from the moon. And he asked, "Orion, are you really going to tell me that you're willing to put up with all the expense and difficulty and inconvenience and headache of a relationship with a woman because they will occasionally drop off your dry cleaning? There's absolutely no way that's worth it. That sounds ridiculously overpriced." And I answered, "Oh yeah, definitely. It's completely overpriced." Not going to argue there. Now he looked at me even more incredulously. "So why do you do it?" And I replied, "It's like I said, women make my life a little sweeter and a little better for being in it. Everything that a woman does for me, I could do or have done for myself, often more cheaply and more easily. However, it's nicer when a woman does it. And it's that niceness that justifies the expense, at least in my mind. Like, I've just made my peace with how much that niceness costs. Women are like the cherry on top of the sundae. And let's be honest, you don't need a cherry to have a sundae. A sundae is mostly ice cream and syrup and caramel and whipped cream and nuts and what have you. The cherry is just a garnish. It's not necessary. A sundae without a cherry is still a sundae. But boy, oh boy, doesn't that bright red cherry on top just make the sundae perfect? Like, a sundae is definitely better with a cherry than without one. Now, those little cherries are pretty pricey. Like, a jar of those maraschinos can cost as much as a couple of gallons of ice cream. And that's wild if you think about it, because, the ice cream is necessary for the sundae, whereas the cherries are not. But that's kind of why they're so expensive. They're a luxury good. And that's kind of what women are, especially in today's day and age. I mean, long gone are the days where women were expected to provide necessary value, where they churn the butter and sew the clothes and cook the meals. Our modern technological advancements have liberated women from these roles. And I don't have a problem with that. Like, I would much rather spend $5 on butter at the market than churn it myself. So I certainly can't chide women for wanting to opt out. The issue is that this liberation, like anything else in life, comes at a cost. And when women stopped providing necessary value, then relationships with them started to become unnecessary. They stopped being necessities and started becoming luxuries. And this isn't necessarily a problem, provided they can find someone willing to happily incur the cost of a luxury. The issue is that on the population level, most men can't afford it. And this begs the question that we're now openly debating in contemporary culture, namely, is this a net gain for women? Are they better off when they are expected to provide necessary value for men? Or are they better off when they can't find men who can afford their relationships with them? If you appreciate the insights on this channel, I would highly encourage you to get your hands on a copy of my book, The Value of Others. Over the course of 432 pages, I delve deep into my economic model of relationships and explain the behavior of both men and women in the game of mating and dating. I also provide a lot of actionable advice on how to get and keep more of what you want in the sexual marketplace. Once you read The Value of Others, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Now available in ebook, audiobook, and paperback formats. The links are in the description. Again, I don't really mind the expense, but that's because I'm at the stage of my life where I can afford a little luxury. When I was younger, I certainly could have used a woman's help. Like, there were many things I could not yet do, and I really could have instrumentally benefited from a woman during that time. And even though there was nothing stopping a woman from providing that necessary value, from building a life with me when I had nothing, from cultivating a true partnership in the fullest sense of that word, I found no women who were interested in doing that. And trust me, I offered that opportunity to several. Rather, they chose men who were more materially established than I was and whose lifestyles were far more extrapolated. Like many young men today, I was frustrated and confused by women's apparent unwillingness to partner with me. Of course, 20 years later, my circumstances are now completely different. I don't really need a woman because women have forced me to learn how to do what they might have done for me for myself. Like, I don't know a single woman who cooks better or more often than I do, for example. And because I'm now successful and self-sufficient, I can increasingly cater to women's desires to be luxury goods. And at this point, they kinda have to be cherries. Like, the sundae has already been constructed. That's why they're interested now. I got the ice cream and the syrup and the nuts and the whipped cream, so what else can they be? The cherry is the only thing missing. Remember, only founders get equity. And if you can appreciate that you're dealing with a luxury good with something that isn't strictly necessary, then your attitude towards it starts to shift. In the first place, you stop burdening it with unreasonable hopes and expectations. Like, don't expect much from a cherry. It will definitely make your sundae a little sweeter, a little brighter, but you could certainly dispense with it if necessary. Men run into trouble when they want the woman to do more than a woman can do or will do. There are many things that a woman can do in a relationship, but there are at least as many things that a woman can't do. And unfortunately, these are the things that men tend to go to women for. Like, a woman isn't going to make you happy. She can't. She's not going to bring you peace. She can't. She isn't going to complete your life. She can't. Only you can make yourself happy. Only you can bring yourself peace. And only you can complete your life. Don't look to a woman for those things. That's expecting the cherry to be the sundae. And that's not fair to her because you're setting her up for failure, which will only lead to anger, resentment, and disappointment. It's a much better idea, men, to get those things from the rest of your sundae. Like, if you have the ice cream and the syrup and the whipped cream, you're gonna be pretty happy and satisfied with or without the cherry. And that will make it easier for you to enjoy that sweet, delicious bite at the end. What's more, this attitude shift will help you have more appropriate standards with respect to women. Like, what are reasonable standards for a cherry? A cherry is sweet. A cherry is bright. A cherry is fresh. And when a cherry is those things, it perfects the sundae. On the other hand, if the cherry is sour, if the cherry is dull, and if the cherry is stale, it can ruin the entire confection. Like, a little bit of putrescence can absolutely destroy an otherwise delectable dish. So those are the reasonable standards associated with cherries, that they should be sweet and bright and fresh. And of course, Cherries are compensated in these responsibilities by the privileges of their position, sitting comfortably atop a carefully constructed bed of whipped cream. So I wanted to share that with you today. If you can approach a woman like a luxury good, then it might alter your hopes and expectations for that relationship. A cherry on top can be a delightful addition, but it's probably best that you go to your sundae for your subsistence and fulfillment. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And please send this episode to someone who you think might benefit from its content, because it's word-of-mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. And anyone looking to join my free weekly newsletter or book a paid consultation can do so on my website. The links to everything are in the description below. As always, I appreciate your support, and thank you for listening.